Hello, Mikkel. My name is Alyssa King. I'm so excited to respond to your discussion response on number one with all the videos for the sociology class. First things first, I thought it was really cool how you broke down each video kind of by bullet point in reference to the role Portugal established in reference to like trade groups and establishing them in India. I did like how you broke down each one of them. So it was very clear what you understood from each video because I kind of jumped around a little bit. Additionally, your reference to the fifth video about the Industrial Revolution and kind of how everything led up to that socioeconomic effect because of capitalism, I wanted to reference a quote that I thought was really cool from video number 5, which says, landlords, capitalism changed everything for the landlords. They got short on money and they raised the rents, which affected the workers. I thought it was really cool as well how everything intersected. You referenced that in your video too. You said that there were interconnections of different events, and that really blew your mind. I thought the exact same thing, mostly because when I thought about how the landlords raising the rent, like the quote I just kind of referenced, this directly linked to homelessness for the workers who were previously making all the items so that factories and machines were making them, they were no longer needed and their labor was more expensive than the objects that were making them. This later led to workers experiencing homelessness, sickness, starvation, which led them to go into the cities, working for those factories for little to no pay, as well as in horrible working conditions, which we saw for children and older adults. This would build and build and build. Once they were let go, it kind of erupted into a constant state of anger and frustration for the workers, which would later lead to unions being established. They could kind of fight for their rights and have a voice in comparison to the owners of these major companies. I also really liked how you said that the products that you used were directly related to larger factories, as the example of Shein. In my personal experience, I could say that as well. I have used Shein too. When I learned that there were sweatshops being used to create the objects that I was buying for a very low price, I realized that the cost of clothes in like a Target, in comparison to the cost of clothes online at Shein, at Target, you can buy a pair of jeans for, let's say, $20. At Shein, you could buy a pair of jeans for, let's say, $10 or $9. They would lure you in with the price of everything being so cheap and not include the fact that the labor was cheap and the conditions were horrible, which would lead to why the objects were cheap. People like a good deal, but once you learn that people are being used and they're not being treated well, a lot of people will pull out of that business, which later leads to the factories either having to close or to eventually find better ways to create these objects and do fair pay. Same thing with Starbucks. Another company I thought that was interesting to bring up is that you bring up free trade coffee. All of the people who have to go into those fields and get those coffee beans and then roast them and all the hours that go into packaging, all of this leads to a sense of a factory to be able to produce at such a high rate. Every location you see for Starbucks has to have enough beans, enough simple syrup, enough milk, drivers, factories, people who package these things. All these things lead to just one location being able to sell you that $5 cup of coffee that now costs $10. It's not because they're paying people fairly, it's because the business is growing and they're willing to pay cheap for products that we inherently pay more for. So the factory ends up keeping all the money, which I thought was cool too. I loved your response. I really hope that I touched on some points that I thought were you did really, really well. I just really adored how you brought Shein from a modern issue all the way back to what was happening at that time as well. So amazing response, and I hope you have a fantastic day.